Well, so we're very lucky to have this group here. A lot of the people here are responsible for the way AI looks today in the real world. And everyone here is also working on how it should look in the next couple years. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity to have this discussion. We're not going to shy away from the hard questions. So I guess the first one is, maybe just to start high level, like, do we have the right architecture to get to this next level of AI? Do we have, are transformers the right thing to get to RSI, continuous learning? I think I want to start with Jerry on this one. Let's start here.
Okay, it's a spicy one, but I feel like I'm being asked a lot about it. And my theory of AI research is that you always should try to think, what is the bottleneck of the day? What is the thing, why are today's models not 10 times better than they are right now? And while doing what we've been doing and keeping investing in transformers, building new environments, scaling up training, gives us gains. Those gains are predictable. We already know how to do it. I think architecture is the biggest thing that can give us gains beyond those things that we already know how to do. I genuinely believe, and record this, remember that the next 2 years will be the time of architecture, where the biggest gains and the biggest progress in the deep learning will come from trying to step away from the transformers. We have been the discovery of transformer has been an inflection point for AI research. Scaling transformers and doing pre-training has been another moment where the age of scaling has started. But transformer has carried us very far, and I think it is kind of a little bit holding us back right now, where I believe for the same cost you probably can train much better agent with a different architecture. We just don't know that architecture yet, and it's a time to find it. That's what I think.
Oriel, you guys are working a lot on, as you just said, RSI. Do you think transformers are the right thing to get us there?
Well, first of all, I guess transformers have transformed over the years. So, if you look at the actual model today, it resembles, but it's not the same. So every iteration of a new model we see outside, especially the ones you can also see in the open source, I mean, there's a lot of tweaks in the architecture already happening. So definitely there's a hill climbing. Perhaps to Jerry's point, is a bit of a local optimum around the transformer, but that's very important. I'm not sure I would believe that I mean, is there a better transformer-like thing that is much more efficient? Possibly. I feel like when I think of architecture, I think holistically, not just the brains, but also the whole agent that you build around it. That architecture, I feel, has a lot of more low-hanging fruits to optimize, like its memory system, how it compresses context, and so on. So I would probably bet on disruption there first, although I'll be rooting for, obviously, better architectures that I'm sure they'll publish in NeurIPS 2027 or so.
No comment there, I guess. Dawn, I'm curious for your thoughts on this.
Oh, yes, this is a very good question. I was talking to Jerry earlier. The question is, which way will go faster? Yes, I think potentially there ought to be some other architecture there that will be more effective than transformers. The question is, how far? So we have two paths. The one is we continue down the current path with transformers, and then I think a number of people here are working on RSI and so on. So then with RSI, as even with the current path, the AI can continue to improve, and then with RSI, then it can help potentially to find better architectures. Then that's one path, and another path is we have humans, we have experts like Jerry to try to discover, design new architectures. And the question is, which path will get us sooner there? Especially given that I think we can also do a poll here for people to think what everyone here thinks about the timeline. Like, when are we getting to RSI with this path? And I'm actually very curious to hear.
Okay, well, let's do a poll. So who thinks we're going to get to RSI this year, 2026? 0. Okay, so RSI 2027? Hands go up or down. We can't do. Okay, 2028. Okay. 2029.
So I don't.
20. Any
What's
hand?
happening?
Maybe you need to say the year. What year do you think RSI is coming?
So I'm not going to make a prediction because I think this is not necessarily the key question when you ask about whether the technology is ready for something. So we are in an agentic summit here. And why do we move to agents? I mean, one reason we move to agent is really an admission by model providers and everyone that we cannot think about just models, we need to think about systems. So when we think about systems, today we are still coupling an agent with a model, but that's going to change. I mean, so we're going to decouple agents from models, and you know, the architecture is going to change also at the model level, but the system level is the one that I think is more important because people realize that we have to be able to delegate, we have to use solvers, we have to use experts models and so on. And to me, the key differences are going to happen at that level. And you know, over time, transformers also are going to change, right? So transformer is a very, very recent beast. There's no reason that in 10 years this is going to be the component that we rely on. But still, the question that are around kind of how to build intelligent systems with solvers, with expert system and so on, that's going to stay even when we change the underlying architecture of the model itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I have some questions for that too. I think this is also another question for debate is, one, how much of the power or the differentiation is at the model level versus actually at the agent level? And also, so we have been doing some work, I think, like others have been doing this work as well. So as the model becomes smarter and smarter, so right now, when people build agents, there's still a lot of human design. Yes, we talk about memory systems, compaction, and all these different things. You still have humans design this. But as the model gets smarter, the model essentially can build agents themselves. So we actually recently developed open framework, agentic framework. We call it AI-centric agent development framework, where we have the model to actually build agent itself on the fly. And build all these different components and so on. And as the model gets smarter and smarter, it actually can do this fairly well. So then it also begs the question, then going forward, whether we actually still need to build these. Yeah, here we are at the Agentic Summits, but there's a question whether even next year, what are we going to do? Are we just going to have model to actually write the entire agentic system framework and so on?
Wojciech, I'm curious for your thoughts on that.
So, few things. So, there's a question about what's the mental model for the AI development. And you might think that maybe AI development is like stacking up a Lego piece after piece, that is actually not even that hard to make an improvements in the, let's say, the memory piece, or like having architectures more efficient. It's just like you keep on stacking it up, and models become better and better. Or alternatively, you might be thinking that actually doing AI research is similar to developing relativity theory. You need this like a genius, like a massive brain to come up. So far, historically, we have seen that primarily we are in the world number one. There has been few instances of these like breakthroughs, like a transformer, as people mentioned, but still we can keep on hill climbing, building Lego piece one after another. And it seems that the models might reach the, you can call it escape velocity. So in some sense, they can be good enough such that they can continue stacking up the Lego pieces. So, you know, you build a model that gets 150 IQ, then you get 200 IQ, 250 IQ. Of course, there's a question about the asymptote, if that would continue. And it might be the case that if it continues for sufficiently long period of time, it's like if it keeps on improving, then even if there are some necessary breakthroughs needed, then the good enough model might crack them. So now, whether or not the escape velocity would be achieved, like whether or not there is like enough energy put into the system, that's the question. Or like when would that happen?
Weiju, I'm curious for your thoughts on this kind of, system versus, the core architecture kind of debate.
Yes, I think for the I side, basically, it highly depends on, just like you say, the system, including this kind of the IL environment, the evaluation, which kind of task you want to solve. I think from the model point of view, as long as you are able to specify the task very clearly, but I think this is pretty challenging. It's the most difficult part. And it's easier for the model, for the ISI trying to, specific to this task is doable in the next 2 or 3 years. But you want to say about, if it need to be very generic, I think it's much, much harder. Maybe it's 100x harder. So there's a huge difference. Yeah, from the architecture point of view, I think, in my opinion, is about architecture finally is still defined by the model capacity, how many parameters you have in the architecture, and yeah. So nothing is for free for the architecture. Definitely no free lunch. When you get something good, it's going to sacrifice the other part for a lot of cases. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just to kind of move the conversation along a little bit just with our time, I'm curious also, like there's been this incident recently in the last couple of weeks of, that's really brought to light how much security and safety is so important with agents nowadays. Like, we might not have RSI today, but agents are very capable. We've seen, OpenAI's agent hack Hugging Face. Anthropic said its agents have escape containment too. And maybe, Dawn, I'm curious for your thoughts based on your security background. Like, I'm curious what you think, how these incidents shifted your thinking about safety and security with agents.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question. So first, I actually want to clarify some things. So first of all, actually, in the OpenAI's case, what the agent was trying to do, it was tasked to actually solve tasks in the benchmark explosion, which is what we developed. And there have been various blogs written about it. I want to take the opportunity to clarify a few things. So first of all, that explosion, the OpenAI deployed explosion in their internal infrastructure, and so that's their internal deployment. And also, so what the agent did was somehow the agent figured out, maybe in order to solve the tasks, maybe Hugging Face has some data or information related to this. So it decided to go to Hugging Face to try to find this. And then actually before this incident became publicly known, we actually got an email from Hugging Face asking us, so we also developed another benchmark called CyberGym. So CyberGym and ExploitGym, they actually cover the entire life cycle for vulnerability, like a vulnerability discovery and then exploit generation. So we actually got an email from Hugging Face asking, there's a CyberGym, essentially serving points, and they seem to have some vulnerabilities. Asking us, do you guys know this? And then we looked into this. We said, actually, this is not our CyberGym. So basically, some third party deployed some service on Hugging Face, and they also called it CyberGym. I think they copied probably some things from the CyberGym benchmark, but they called it CyberGym. And then in the end, that's actually what the agent was able to exploit, and then through that, and then got into Hugging Face infra and so on. So I wanted to clarify that even though that one was called CyberGym, but actually is entirely a third-party deployment, has nothing to do with us. So we actually clarify with the Hugging Face, for their blog and so on. But anyway, so this I think is a wake-up call. Even though my group, so we have been among the earliest to actually investigate in this space, looking at the impacts of frontier AI in the landscape of cybersecurity. And we did all this work. Also, I was trying to essentially raise the awareness earlier for the community to get prepared and to take action, because I could see, even, we started working in the space actually 2 years ago. Even then, I could see with the AI fast progress and so on, this is what's coming. Although actually I had to say, even though we built out this benchmark and demonstrated, and I was trying to talk to people even in the policy space that we need to get prepared, but I think it was difficult for people to really understand and get the message. So I think what happened was some mythos certainly helped, and also I think this incident really is a wake-up call for people that the agent's capabilities now have reached a level.
Yeah. So I want to say that it's clearly a wake-up call, but I think we shouldn't think that this is only the cybersecurity problem. This can happen everywhere. So we saw earlier today the Tetris example. But imagine that you have a multi-agent system and the agents communicate among themselves, and you impose some constraints on what information they can communicate to each other. So Dawn doesn't want some of the information that her agent has about her to be communicated with Max agents or my agent. Now, we can put a verifier that verifies that they don't break these kind of rules of what can be communicated, but the agents can go around it and maybe change the language that they're using so that the verifier is incapable of verifying what they're doing. So this issue goes much beyond just cybersecurity. It goes to any communication system that involves agents, and we have to really think about it from kind of from basis, what are the issues that we have to deal with? And I think we are a little bit dormant in this space.
Yes, absolutely. I think, yes, the risk is vast, covers a broad range. And I think in cyber in particular, I think just given that already we know there's huge incentives for attackers to attack, and now really with Frontier AI significantly reduced their essentially costs and also the expertise level that's needed and so on. So this can really bring a huge sea change in the space.
Wojciech, from a resilience perspective, what do you think?
So I was thinking, what's the mental model of what's happening now? And maybe one mental model, so okay, it doesn't seem that what just happened is like a last incident. Okay, that doesn't seem so, okay? Quite opposite, it seems that we are entering a new era, okay? So maybe one way to think about it is imagine what happens if all of a sudden locks to the houses stop working, okay? You can just enter every house. What happens, okay? So that's that's the era that we are entering with cybersecurity. We should expect in the very close future that the open source models will become insanely good in cyber, and that will be a problem. That will be a problem for critical infrastructure. It will be a problem both from perspective of teenagers hacking for fun, people who are motivated to hack for the gains, and also nation states. And all of these will be at play. My guess is that it will be chaotic.
Any other thoughts from the panel here?
I think like cybersecurity is one angle. Definitely, we probably already live in the world where like we are lucky that OpenAI and Anthropic are good guys, but they probably can hack any company in the world if they want to, which is a scary realization. But there's other angle from a perspective of reinforcement learning researcher, which I am a little bit worried, which is misalignment and reward hacking, which we have seen there and escaping the sandbox, and that's something that everyone who works on reinforcement learning, I would like them to be really care about and really worry about, because in some ways we are training those models to get reward in various environments and various situations, and it's up to us, the researchers, the trainers, the people building that systems, what is actually rewarded. And whenever we are building an environment where the model can hack, where the model can do unethical things, the model can do incorrect things to get reward, the model will do it, the model will learn it, the model will express that behavior in the real world. And we are putting more and more of our life in the hands of the models, and we'll be only doing more and more. AI is great, and everyone is using it. And the reward hacking models, if they are exposed to the real world, they will be doing things that are not great, and they are trained for that by us. So like designing your environments in a way that promotes the right types of behaviors and the right types of taking actions is what really everyone should be doing. And I think there almost should be like some standards. You don't get to train your models if you don't build your environments carefully enough, because we don't want to be having misaligned models everywhere that are trying to exploit whatever sandbox they are in to get the reward. It's a really scary thing to think about.
Well, on that note, we are out of time, but thank you to the panelists for a great conversation. If we could give a round of applause for the panelists. And thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.